Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andy from Magoo Investing. Happy Tuesday. In today's video, it's going to be a little later than normal, and that's because one of my favorite stocks, Snapchat, ticker symbol SNAP, just released earnings. And this week I've decided I wanted to talk about all the social media stocks. So yesterday I talked about Twitter, and if you missed that, I'll link that above right now. But today with the earnings report for Snap, we get to kind of look to see how they've done in the past quarter. Snap has been one of my favorite companies out there. And today we're going to be focusing a lot on the actual charts because I think that's what I do best, and I'm trying to differentiate myself between the rest of all of the investing YouTubers out there. But before we get started, I do have to say that I'm not a licensed financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. Anything you hear in this video is just me giving my own opinions on the stock market, and you need to do your own research before making any investment decisions. So from this earnings today, we had a really interesting spot for Snap. And so going into earnings, this is what I had written down. So Snap was near its all-time highs back from their IPO in March of 2017. Snap has had an incredible run so far in 2020, up more than 3 times from their lows back in March. So they have recovered significantly. And then going into earnings, based off of the moves from the previous earnings, the expected move was between 5 and 10%. And at this point, I believe it's up, last time I checked, was up 17%. So this is a larger than expected move after some really positive earnings. So let's head on over the charts, and I'm going to talk about how I'm going to be playing this going forward because Snap is one of my favorite stocks out there. I was hoping for a miss across the board to give me an opportunity to buy in, but I'm going to show you what I saw in the charts and how I'm looking to play this going forward. All right, so here we are looking at the all-time chart for Snapchat, and so it has definitely gone through a whirlwind of price movement in the past couple years since it IPO'd in March of 2017. So this is what I have on the chart when I have no drawings here, and I like to just kind of show what's here before I show what I've drawn on here, because I think there's some really interesting things to point out for how I would trade this going forward. So when I put the drawings back on, gotta find that, go to the default. This is the drawings that I have going forward. And so going into earnings, I hope you can see why I was very curious to see what was going to happen. This upward channel that we've seen starting back in July of 2019 up until present day, it was sitting near the very top of that going into earnings, and I felt very good about a play. You might be wondering, why do I call this a channel if it drops significantly down here and then comes right back? Usually if there is a overall move in the stock market, this is the pandemic, this huge drop right here is the reason why this fell. I usually give them a pass on something like that because a company like Snapchat is not strong enough or does not have enough volume to stop it from falling with the overall market. So the fact that it rode this upward trend for a long time, the pandemic hit, and then it bounced back. And then as we come in here, it kind of tested it from the bottom a couple times. And that shows me that this zone is a very important area. So going into earnings, it was near the upper end of this upward channel. And I was very excited, especially because it was getting close to the all-time high that happened the day after it IPO'd. So these were some very serious levels that, as I've talked about on the channel, the catalyst that you would need to bust through something like this is either a major news event or an earnings report. And the earnings that they released today was strong enough to push it through that. So it does not have an update on the side. It closed at 28.45 today. As we go to the 1 minute chart, you can see the stock is sitting at around $34 at this point. So when we look at that type of move, when I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, the expected move based off of the options, you can have the expected move by taking the percentage for one of these shorter term options. The move from today, currently it is up 22% from its bottom, and then from where it closed, it's up 18%. So these are some pretty serious moves after a very solid earnings report that beat on pretty much everything. So very solid all around. So now as we're up to $34, let's zoom out and see what's next. So we're going to have to scale this back at this point to show the $34. So it's up around here right now. No, let's bring that back. So at this point, it is out of my price range. When you do not have any more data to do technical analysis, when it recently gets to an all-time high, I kind of stay from the sidelines because I don't have any more information to go from. There's no trend lines that I can show to make me feel confident. So I'm going to set an alert back to this previous all-time high to be a potential support. And so I'm going to be looking to see if the stock fades after a couple days once the momentum from the earnings report kind of wears off. And if that happens, I will likely be trying to take a position because, as I've always mentioned on this channel, previous resistance usually is respected as support in the future. So if that happens, I'm going to be looking to see if it respects that, and if it does, I will be taking a position. But based off of where it is right now, that boat has sailed. I'm very happy for the people that are in Snapchat right now. I am not. I wish I was, but I'm going to be watching from the sideline and kind of see what happens. I have my alert set right here, and if it comes back through that, I will happily take a position, and if not, I will just watch it, and I'm very happy for the company that had fantastic earnings today. All right, so let me give my final thoughts on what I think about Snapchat. Overall, I absolutely love Snap. If you watched my video from yesterday talking about Twitter, some of the numbers that they released from this past quarter were very impressive. So the numbers that I saw, the most important in my opinion is user growth. And so their daily average users from the previous quarter was 238 million in quarter two, and they announced that they had 249 million. So they had a very nice increase there. And when we show the growth of daily average users, it's been very steady for Snapchat. This is the area that I look for all of these social media stocks as being the most important factor to give me confidence going forward. So it checks that box. Next area is ARPU, which is average revenue per daily users. And this dropped in quarter two. During the pandemic, there was a huge drop in ad spending overall. And we saw that in Twitter, Snap, Google, Facebook, everywhere. Most of the companies that were going to be paying for ads were kind of going on the defensive. And so they were not willing to spend as much as they had in the past. And so there was a lot of companies that were just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. In addition to most of the protests not wanting to kind of overshadow all of that. So there was a drop in spending. And it appears like that has come back significantly based off of the fact that revenue growth, there was $454 million of revenue in quarter two, and they announced 678. So it seems like the ad revenue is coming back significantly. And this is something to watch going forward because Snap is very dependent on ad spending, whereas 98% of their overall revenue comes from advertisement, where the rest of the 2% comes from spectacles. And the last time I talked about Snap, someone asked me what my thoughts were on that. And the fact that it's only 2% of their revenue at this point, it could be something exciting going forward, but I really don't see that technology really getting a foothold in society. So I don't expect that to be a huge revenue source going forward, but it is definitely interesting. Something we do have to watch is with ad spending. There was an expected 17% growth in ad spending going into 2020 when the year started. Then the pandemic hit, then we had the protests during the summer, and now the expected growth is only 1.7%. So social media stocks are going to be on watch for that. With Snapchat being one of the first social media stocks to announce earnings, I feel very bullish about the rest of them. Snapchat is one of my favorites because their business model is just so simple. Most of the ads that they see are just couple second ads that are spaced in between the normal stuff that you'd be doing on the site. And it really doesn't take away from the overall experience that much. Twitter, Facebook, the ads are a little more intrusive, so I don't love them as much. So overall, Snapchat is one of my favorites for that. And so they had a loss of $200 million, just short of $200 million, compared to the $227 million from the past quarter. So they are shrinking their loss, and they actually had a surprise positive earnings per share. So the company is definitely trending in the right direction when it comes to profitability. And so you might look at the positive earnings per share and call that profitability. I don't. I look at net income. I think that's the most important thing to look at going forward, just to see what's happening with the company. Looking at the rest of their books, everything looks really solid. And so they have very little long-term debt that came from a debt offering of around $1 billion that they had towards the beginning of 2020. And so it's very minimal. Their equity is sitting at above $2 billion. So their debt to equity is around 0.5, slightly below 0.5. So I'm not worried about that. Everything looks great. And so the growth that they were giving as the expectations from their earnings report was very positive, and they seem to be very bullish on the company with their numbers going into Q4. So right now, Snap is in a great spot. I definitely missed out not taking a position right now. I was definitely hoping for it to fall to try to take advantage based off of the stuff I showed on the charts. But at this point, I'm looking for it to retest that upward channel. I'm going to be very patient with this because after a huge move to the upside, after very positive earnings, a lot of times you see the momentum kind of go for a couple days and then the stock starts to sell off. So if that starts to happen, I'm going to look to see if it'll retest that all-time high from just days after their IPO to see if I can get in there. But right now, I definitely have missed out. The stock has done very well. I'm very happy for the company, and it should be a positive sign for the rest of the social media stocks out there. So let me know what you feel about Snap. Are you a shareholder? Are you looking to buy in? And what do you think of the earnings report? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you in the next video.